Welcome. So in today's lecture, we will see losses that will occur in the optical fiber communication. In last lecture, I have explained attenuation and bending loss. In today's lecture, we will see the absorption loss and scattering loss. Now, the absorption loss is related to the material composition and fabrication process for the fiber. During the fabrication, some of the metal ions will get deposited on the glass material. Because of that, we get the absorption loss. Also, because of the properties of the glass material, we get one kind of absorption loss. So there are two types. The first one is the intrinsic absorption. When the absorption is caused because of the glass molecules, that loss we define as a intrinsic absorption. And when the loss is caused by the impurities which are added during fabrication process, that loss is called extrinsic absorption. So let us look at what is intrinsic absorption. The intrinsic absorption can occur in UV region and in IR region. Now in the UV region, it is basically occurred because of the different energy levels in the material. Consider the energy diagram. Energy level E1 and E2 is shown such that E2 is greater than E1. Now incident photon has the energy hf, where f is the frequency of the incident light and h is called as the Planck constant. So when the photon is incident on the molecule, the electron from the ground state will get this energy and it transits to the higher energy state, that is E2. When it falls back, it will either emit the light or it will emit energy in terms of heat. If it emits the light, then we say that the light is transmitted. But when it emits the energy in any other form, we say that light is absorbed. So let us consider these terms. The energy difference between E2 and E1 is called as the band gap energy of the material, and energy of the photon is hf, which can be also written as hc by lambda. So now when the photon is incident on the molecule and the electron is excited to the higher energy level, if the band gap energy E2 minus E1 is less than the energy of the photon will get absorbed. That is when the band gap energy is less than energy of the photon, the electron which is in the higher energy state, it will emit the energy in terms of heat, which is not useful for the optical communication. So if you look at this, we say that To minimize this loss, we need energy of the photon to be less than the band gap energy. So band gap energy is greater than energy of the photon will not be absorbed. So we have to reduce energy of the photon so that the loss can be reduced. And energy of the photon can be reduced by increasing wavelength, that is lambda. So we can say at a longer wavelength the intrinsic absorption will be less. So from this diagram we can see the absorption in the UV region is plotted here. On the upper side there is a wavelength in micrometer. At the bottom it is photon energy in electron volt. On the y-axis loss in dB per kilometer. So in the UV region, as we have seen, as the wavelength increases, the loss is reduced. So for longer wavelength, the loss in the UV region because of the absorption is very less. Now in the infrared region, the loss takes place because of the basic fiber properties. The fiber is made of a glass material and the glass is very bad conductor at longer wavelengths. So the light carrying capacity of the glass is reduced at longer wavelength. So as the wavelength increases, the loss will be increased rapidly. So you can observe the second loss in the infrared region. As you increase the wavelength, the loss is also increasing. So the intrinsic absorption will be minimized if the wavelength is increased up to around 1.1 micrometer. But then again, because of the infrared region, because of the glass properties, the loss will again increase as we increase the wavelength. So this is about the intrinsic absorption. Then second is the extrinsic absorption. As we know, it is related with the impurities which gets added during the manufacturing process. When the fiber is made, it is made from the molten glass. First the glass is melt and then in the crucible it is placed and then fiber is made. So during this process, some of the metallic ions like iron, copper, cobalt, nickel, they will get added in the glass material. And all these metallic ions absorb the light. They will not transmit the light, but they will absorb the light. So because of this, we get the absorption which is called extrinsic absorption. One more absorption takes place because of the water molecules. During the manufacturing and the purification of the glass, some of the OH minus ions, that is water molecules or hydroxyl ions, will get deposited in the glass. So these also cause the absorption. So you observe the peak at around 1.5 micrometer. It is because of the water molecules. Now as the technology is advanced, glass purification process is much refined and this loss is now minimized. The next loss, that is a scattering loss. Scattering means when the light is incident on a molecule, sometimes the molecule will not absorb the light, but light will get scattered in all the directions. So if you consider the fiber core, it consists of some of the minute particles, and when light is incident, some of the light will be lost in the cladding or in the backward direction. So basically this loss occurs because the microscopic variations in the material density and also the composition of the glass material. Now the glass is made up of different molecules, and because of the fluctuations in the glass, when light is incident on these fluctuations, the light will get scattered. Now as you can see in the second figure, if the light is incident and is scattered in all the directions, we know that the light will be reflected if the incidence angle is greater than critical angle. So for some of the rays after scattering, they will not make the incident angle to be greater than critical angle. For these rays, the incidence angle may be less than critical angle. So these rays will get lost. Only those rays which will make an angle greater than the critical angle will get transmitted through the fiber. Now the scattering can be defined in two types, linear and non-linear. For linear scattering, we have Rayleigh scattering and Mie scattering. And for non-linear scattering, we have stimulated Brillouin scattering and stimulated Raman scattering. Linear scattering is defined as when the amount of light that is transferred from incident wave to the scattered wave is proportional to the input power. So in this case, the frequency of the scattered wave and frequency of the incident wave remains same. There is no change in the frequency of the scattered wave. So we can say wavelength of the scattered wave and the incident wave will also same. In case of non-linear scattering, the frequency of the scattered wave is different than the frequency of the incident wave. Basically it is caused because the electric field within the fiber. So the scattered wave can have wavelength longer than or less than the wavelength of the incident light. So let's discuss what is Rayleigh scattering. Rayleigh scattering will occur when the dimensions of the particle is less than lambda by 10. Lambda is the wavelength of the incident light. So if the size of the fluctuations is less than lambda by 10, then the scattering is called Rayleigh scattering. So you can observe the Rayleigh scattering, the light is scattered in all the directions. So most of the light which is scattered in the backward direction, it will be a loss of the energy. So out of this forward scattered light, only those light rays or only those photon which will make an angle greater than the critical angle will be transmitted through the fiber. All other rays will get lost. Rayleigh scattering coefficient can be given by this equation. So from this equation you can observe this loss coefficient, that is Rayleigh scattering coefficient gamma r, is inversely proportional to lambda raised to 4. That means if you increase the wavelength, the scattering loss will be reduced. Now see, if we double the wavelength, then the loss will be reduced by 16 times. So even if the wavelength is increased by 2, the loss is rapidly reduced by 16 times. So if you consider particular loss at 800 nanometer, then if you double the wavelength to 1600 nanometer, then loss will be 16 times less as compared to the loss at 800 nanometer. So that's why the Rayleigh scattering loss at around 1600 nanometer is very less. So the loss factor is given by exponential of the gamma r into length of the fiber. So at longer wavelength, the loss will be minimum. The second type of the linear scattering is Mie scattering. It is mostly scattering the light in forward direction. This scattering will occur when the size of the fluctuations or the particles is greater than lambda by 10. That is, size of these irregularities will be greater than 10% of the wavelength of incident light. Now basically this occurs because of the non-perfect cylindrical structure of the fiber and imperfections such as irregularities in the core cladding boundary, then difference in the refractive index of core and cladding. There may be some diameter fluctuations, some bubbles, stains, etc. If all these have the dimensions greater than lambda by 10, then there will be Mie scattering. In this case, most of the light is scattered in the forward direction. So the loss because of Mie scattering is less as compared to the Rayleigh scattering. So we can reduce this loss by reducing these imperfections in the glass manufacturing process, then covering the fiber with protective coating which can absorb the external pressure so that fiber will be safe. And third one, by increasing the relative refractive index difference. Under the non-linear scattering, the first type is a stimulated Brillouin scattering. Now when the light is transmitted through the fiber, if the intensity of light is very high, then the electric field is also high, which produces change in the refractive index. And because of that, whatever scattering is occurred is called stimulated Brillouin scattering. So when the intensity of light is high, it will result in the change in the density of the material. It is when the refractive index is varied, that is, the density of the material will be changed. So the incident photon is converted into scattered photon of slightly lower energy and a phonon. Phonon refers to the acoustic particle or the sound wave particle. So the Brillouin scattering produces two scattered waves. One is acoustic and one is light wave. But the light wave, frequency of the light wave will be slightly less than the frequency of the incident wave. So when the photon is incident, it will scattered, it produces light at a lower energy and a phonon, that is an acoustic wave or the sound wave. So the light or the scattered light will have different wavelength than the wavelength of the photon, or we can say the frequency of the scattered light is different or it is lower than the frequency of the incident wave. So the frequency shift is given by 2n Vs by lambda, where n indicates the refractive index and Vs is the velocity of the sound in that material. Lambda is wavelength of the incident light. So there is a change in the frequency of the scattered wave. The Brillouin scattered wave, that is light wave, usually travels in the backward direction, that is towards the transmitter. So because of this, the energy in the scattered photon is increased as the input power is increased. So if we look at the figure, on the x-axis it is relative transmitted optical power and on the y-axis it is relative received optical power. So from this graph you can observe there is particular SBS threshold. Up to this threshold, the power in the scattered light is slowly increasing. As the input power increases, the power in the scattered light is also increases linearly up to the SBS threshold. And when the input power is beyond the SBS threshold, the power in the scattered wave increases suddenly so that the signal power starts to reduce. So beyond this SBS threshold, any power which is launched into the fiber will be scattered in the backward direction. So the input power will be reduced. This Brillouin scattering can be given by the approximate equation. PB indicates threshold power. Up to this, the Brillouin scattering power will increase linearly, but once the threshold is reached, the power increases rapidly so that the input signal power starts to reduce. Now this Brillouin scattering can affect the power in the same channel. So if you consider a fiber which consists of an amplifier, and when the light is scattered in the backward direction because of the Brillouin scattering, one isolator can be placed. So isolator is a device which will isolate particular wavelength from reaching towards the amplifier. So this loss is limited only to a particular span, that is from one amplifier to the other amplifier. So it will not affect much to the transmission in between transmitter and receiver. Then the second nonlinear scattering is a stimulated Raman scattering. This is also an inelastic scattering of a light. It is occurred because of the silica molecules. Now when the photon, let's say energy of the photon is E1, it interacts with a silica molecule. That molecule absorb some of the energy and remaining energy is scattered. So if we consider the scattered photon has energy E2, then since that molecule has absorbed some of the energy, the scattered photon is having energy less than the incident photon. So the incident photon frequency will be greater than the frequency of the scattered wave. And the shift in the frequency is called as a Stokes shift. And since the input light signal is providing the photon, it is called as a pump wave. The frequency of the scattered photon is less. The wavelength of the scattered photon will be longer than the wavelength of the incident photon. So SRS produces the scattered light of the longer wavelength. So we can say the power is transmitted from lower wavelength to the higher wavelength. Let's consider the figure. There are four wavelengths which are transmitted: lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3 and lambda 4. The lambda 1 is the smallest wavelength and lambda 4 is the longest wavelength. Now we know that when the light is incident, because of the stimulated Raman scattering, the power is always transferred into the longer wavelength. Now if the wavelength of the light is lambda 1 and it is scattered such that it is producing the light of wavelength lambda 2, then the power in the lambda 2 wavelength will be added with the scattered power in the lambda 2. So the total power of this lambda 2 will be increased. Again, because of the incident light with the wavelength lambda 2, it will get scattered into the higher wavelength. So power from lambda 2 will be scattered into higher wavelength, and there is already one wavelength which is lambda 3 greater than lambda 2. So if the scattered light from the lambda 2 is having also the wavelength lambda 3, then that scattered power will get added to the input with lambda 3. So again the power in the lambda 3 will also increase. So same way, if we consider lambda 4, the power will also be increased. So you can observe the shortest wavelength will be attenuated more as compared to the longer wavelength. So again we can define the threshold power for the stimulated Raman scattering. So from this graph you can observe on x-axis it is the channel separation, and on the y-axis it is Raman gain coefficient. Up to the channel spacing of 125 nanometer, the Raman gain increases almost linearly. And after this spacing, after 125 nanometer spacing, the Raman gain drops suddenly. So, to minimize the Raman scattering loss, the channel spacing must be made greater than 125 nanometer. So this way we can reduce the Raman scattering loss. Thank you.